So let's talk about falls and fall prevention and how to stay upright through your whole lifespan. Hugely important. So depending on what statistic you look at, falls are unfortunately pretty common. Up to a third to as high as 40 some odd percent past the age of 65 experience falls in a year. Well, of that, unfortunately, a fairly high percentage fracture something, particularly hips. And of the people that do fall and fracture a hip past the age of 65, unfortunately, almost 50% don't live longer than 6 months. And that's a really startling, not great statistic. And so keeping your balance over your lifespan is really important. We don't want to have any injuries as time passes, right? So thing is, balance and maintenance of balance and falls is actually a cognitive process. Well, let me explain. So what happens is this: as time passes, we tend to get a little bit slower with our reflex. It doesn't have to be if we train it. Things tend to get a little bit slower. We don't necessarily practice as many footwork things, so things get a little bit delayed. They're not quite as quick and snappy at saving us, right? So we trip on something, catch our foot on something like anybody can, and we take a fall. Well, then what happens is we get where we don't want to fall, so we tend to get a little more tentative, and the reflex there is, because of what's happening between the ears and the desire of not falling again, we tend to get lower and wider. We don't get we're not as trusting of really staying tall and picking up each foot and having balance on each individual foot. So then it tends to be more of a, instead of picking it up and bringing it forward, it tends to be more of a keep it close to the ground. If we're wider and lower to the ground with our feet, our brain goes safer. Well, the thing is, what that does is widen and lower base actually makes us more likely to trip, because then we're catch stuff instead of picking our foot up and over things. I'm sure most of you experience, you ever like be hiking or walking and then you catch a root with your foot? Well, that's because sometimes it's just luck. But the other piece, it can be because you're not necessarily picking your feet up as much as you need to. So then we trip again. Well, then we get more tentative. We tend to stiffen up, tense up, rather than being relaxed and moving. Again, slowing our reflexes down. So what happens is it makes us more likely to trip, more likely to fall, and it compounds the problem. Then we become less confident. So that's how our belief around something that anybody could have done at any age, our body starts to cognitively try to protect ourselves, but then that strategy doesn't necessarily lead to good balance over time. So what's the solution? Well, first off, you have to know, it starts between the ears. It's knowing that you can maintain your balance and be really fluid as time passes. You absolutely can. That's one of the beautiful things about nature, is that our balance systems are very well preserved and very well trainable. But the more fearful we are, the more tentative we are, the more we tend to compensate with a wide base and tension, the more likely it creates a problem. So you have to know that, and then go, okay, need to work on this. Need to make sure that I'm nice and stable. And so being relaxed, working on your confidence, working on foot drills, things like that helps build your confidence. And knowing that, you know what, I need to stand up tall, I need to be relaxed. Knowing that the compensations make us more likely to have an issue, well, don't go down that road. Work on it. Real easy ways to work on your balance. You can do it when you get a parking lot going into a store. It doesn't even have to be in your... I'll back up a step. I think it's a good idea to train in your training program. I think it's a big deal. I think working on your feet and training yourself like an athlete all the time through your whole life is important. So I definitely believe in putting it in your exercise program. We teach it all the time. That having been said, it's a balance responds to training it a little bit frequently. So I'll give you an example. So you go to Target, walk into the thing, pretend like you're walking on a parking line. You see one of the parking lines, walk the parking line like you're walking the plank, right? You're not going to fall. It's low. Work on it. You see a curve. Step over the curve. Walk the curb. Putting in little instances of challenging yourself with terrain, and whether it's lines on a floor, working on side shuffle on it, doing different footwork patterns, what that does is, there's no real risk with that, but what you're doing is you're training your balance system to be more adaptive, more responsive, and also having to pick up your feet and move your feet and responding to challenges is part of what helps us to do a good job of picking up our feet. It builds our confidence. We tend to be more relaxed. It makes us less likely to fall. So that's part of how you stay up. So part of it is the training, but just remember, it all starts with what's between the ears, and knowing that it's something you can change positively, and taking steps to improve that over time. So anyway, thanks for listening. Let's all stay upright. Let's all get out and enjoy things, hiking, biking, all the things that you love to do in life, and train your nervous system. Challenge it, give it things that are fun and novel so that it continues to be responsive, it continues to work well. And the great thing is, helps us to feel great and makes falling way less likely. So anyway, thanks for listening, guys, and everybody have a great day. And as you can see, the weather this morning is beautiful. Birds are out, and lots of great sights and sounds, and the temperature's great today. So out exercising, walking myself, and was practicing some footwork things that I was just describing to you guys. So get out there, have fun, keep playing. Take care, guys. Bye, guys.